Hello everybody and welcome to the first episode of Let's Learn Crusader Kings 2, a game by Paradox Development Studio that instead of, revolving around playing a country, it revolves around playing a person and his dynasty. So this is going to be an overview video, just giving you very basics of what everything does and where everything is, so that, when we go into the more detailed stuff, you can at least have an idea of how everything goes together. First, let's go into a single player game. Now, these are all the dates that you may be familiar with if you've played other Paradox games. The original will start with Stamford Bridge 1066, because I have the Pagan expansion. I also get the Old Gods, but we're going to go here and click Stamford Bridge, which is what you will start at. Now, as you can see, this map mode is very much like the region, like the general map mode in all Paradox games, whereas all it really shows you is borders. It doesn't show you anything else. And there are multiple map modes in this game that are different to many of them you may be used to. Now, W will bring you to Independent Realms. And Independent Realms is what you might imagine. It's all the different countries. So you have Sweden, Denmark, England, Wales, Scotland, and you can see Ireland is split into all these. And the important thing I can mention here is, because you play as a character, if you play as a king, you don't, all these aren't directly in your control. You have people to have these and, administrate them for you, like counts and dukes. So you can see if I click on England, it will bring up King Harold. And this is, the King of England and his vassals are all the dukes and counts. Now if I click on each specific place, it will show me who owns that area. You can see we have the Earl of Cornwall, who his leader is the King of England. So that's the main difference between this game and other games, is that you will play as a character who may or may not be the king. But anyway, this is the Independent Realm map mode, where it shows you all the different countries. Another one is Counts. This will show you all the different counts in the game. Counts own one province, so a count will own one area. There are also dukes. Now, dukes will own essentially a region. So you have, the Duke of York who is in charge of all these counts. The Duke also has his own areas as well. We have kings, which, is pretty self-explanatory. We also have religion. So you have Catholic, Sunni, Tengri, not going to pronounce that, Orthodox, Slavic, Norse. And these are all different religions, and religion plays a pretty big part in this game. And there are also cultures, where you have Anglo-Saxon, Scottish, Irish, which also play a fairly big part. Say if you were a Scottish king of Ireland, then, people aren't going to like you because you're a different culture to them. And that's also, an important thing to take into consideration. But anyway, let's go back onto Independent Realms. And I think to start off with, we are going to start as the King of Sweden. Now, this won't be the game that I'll continue to play, but it makes it, it lets me show you a bit of everything. You have vassals, he's a king, he has areas, it's very, and I would normally play as England to begin with, but they start in a war because also it's Stamford Bridge, so it's Norway, England, all that. So we're just going to go as King of Sweden. And another thing I should mention before I start is that there is an expansion to make your own characters, where you can customize stats and also coat of arms, looks, everything like that, which I will make another video about. But to start off with, we're just going to jump into the King of Sweden. And while we wait for this to load, I will again show you. Right, so here we are, and I'm going to show you basically all the different map modes to begin with. So you can see right now, this is the generic terrain map. This is the Independent Realms, which you may be familiar with. But there are also other map modes that are important as well, so I'm just going to go through the main ones here. Diplomatic shows me who I'm at war against, who I'm neutral with, who I'm allied with. Religion again, cultures. Economy shows me where the majority of my money is being made. You can see right here the capital, Upland. Now, a de jure duchy. Now, de jure duchies are a little bit hard to explain, so I'm going to start with de jure kingdoms. Now, this is the de jure kingdom of Sweden, which essentially means this is all a core province of Sweden. So the Kingdom of Sweden should have all these areas. So Right now, if I go back to Independent Realms, we don't have this area here, but it is a de jure kingdom, which means that technically this should be part of Sweden, these 3 areas, because they are, you know, Sweden considers them to be part of Sweden, essentially. So if I went to attack one of these areas, I could have a reason for attacking them, being they are a de jure region of Sweden, which means, you know, they should belong to us, and that's a valid reason to wage war on someone. Now, as well as de jure kingdoms, we also have de jure duchies, which again you might imagine, these are these specific duchies that should be in Sweden. And if you're English, this may make more sense to you, but you have, you know, York. How weird would it be if, you know, let's have a look here. This area here was part of York, it wouldn't sit right. Likewise, if, you know, all this was Scottish, it's not supposed to be. That's the best way I can explain de jure areas. As well as that, we also have de jure empires, which an empire, you know, if you're an emperor, you have kings as vassals. You're one step above a king, and these are all the different de jure empires. We also have revolt risks, which is the darker it is, the more chance that they have to revolt. Dynasties, which are basically the families, essentially, the family trees. Opinions, what they think of us, and opinions is very important for vassals as well. Like I said, you know, you have counts and dukes, and if they don't like you, they're going to give you less money. They're not going to support you in war as much, and they may actually try and take you over. Direct vassals shows you, say if I was, now the difference between direct vassals and vassals is, dukes are in charge of counts, right? So a count is not my direct vassal, dukes are. And that is different, so this will be all the ones that I have direct control over. Republic trade zones are more to do with republics, which at the minute are Venice and Gotland. And we also have family trade zones, which I'm not sure what they are. We don't have any right now, so I'm just going to ignore that. But now I've shown you all the different map modes. You can also select ones and put them into little hotspots here. They're also all key pressable using QWERTY, and then the ASD there. So you have all the little hotkeys for your map modes, which are pretty handy. Down the bottom, main menu, leisure is, you know, kind of a ledger, shows you everything. Go to home province, find title and find characters, which becomes very useful later on. So if I wanted to go, you know, I could find characters that are rulers and not married, and this would be it. So that's very helpful if you're trying to find a specific sort of person for whatever reason. Now, up at the top left here, we have us. You can see there we are the King of Sweden, the heir to the county of Moray, which means when the... is that Moray? So when the person who currently owns Moray dies, the title of that will go to us. You can see there, religious head, spouse, and we also have, this is our main title, so our biggest title we have. So if we were a duke, it would be the duchy here. And we see we are King of Sweden, and we can also rename that. So, you know, we could name it Cool Land, and everything would be, instead of Swedish, they would be Coolish. And if I click OK, you can see that will change here. And it will also say, like, you know, they are Coolish instead of Swedish, which is a nice little RP sort of thing. But this is all the town. This is all the things that belong to the Kingdom of Sweden, or Coolin now. Next we have the character page. Now every character in the game has this same page. So you can see if I go to any character, they all have this. There are also options here which the other characters don't have. You can see here we can go to the barber and redesign our character. Our dynasty tree, our family tree, and also our realm tree, which I'll go into in much more detail when we get to this page. But you can see there are some basic stats, traits, titles that we own, vassals, court, allies. It's basically everything you need to know to do with relationships and your character. Next, from here we have the council. Now, basically, you can appoint different members of your council. These are their stats in their required things, so you can know if you have a marshal, you want him to be good in combat, and this will automatically, if I click appoint, it will automatically roll them up in terms of how good they are. So here we have 15, a 12, a 12, a 10, and 8. And then you can also set them to do tasks. For instance, I can tell him to improve diplomatic relations with the King of Norway, and that will go do that. Next we have laws. Now, Sweden is currently a, I don't know what you would call it, a elective monarchy, which means that you can vote for the next king, and then, you know, whoever has the most votes when the king dies will become the next king. And these are all the different laws you can instate being the king, and they all have to be voted on by people who have voting powers. And the only two different ones are crown authority and investiture, which have this little crown here, which I will get into at a later date, but essentially you can only change one of them per lifetime. Next we have technology. Now it's split into three sections: military, economy, and culture. These are how much they gain on their own over time. So you can see there we have more military advances. You will also get military points, which you can spend, you know, on a certain thing if you need it. So you can see there 90 for that one, 90 for that one, 20. And these will just gain over time. You can put them into whatever you want, but they will also grow just naturally. Military, these are all our vassals that can supply us with military. You can see right now that he doesn't like us, therefore he's not going to give us any military. Retinues, which are standing armies, and your fleets, and also your own armies. Mercenaries as well, and holy orders for crusades. Intrigue is basically where all your decisions are, and plots to kill people, plots against you that you know about to kill you, and all these different sort of things. So if we click choose a plot here, you can see we have a long list of things we can do. And these are also all the decisions we can make. You can see some of them are grayed out because they require certain things to be done. Like this requires the month is before August and at least May for that to happen. And next we'll move on to factions. Now factions are groups of people who want something. So you may have a faction to of independence. We'll say, let me go to duchies. We'll say that the Duke of this area here wants to be independent for the rest of Sweden. He'll make a faction. Other dukes or counts may want to join him on his faction, and then eventually they may ask, you know, we want to be independent. If you say no, all the people in that faction will be called to war, and you'll have a war on your hands. And that's mostly due to people not liking you. Next is religion. Now, I'll go into this in a lot more detail when we get to it, but basically these are your bishops, and you can also appoint people, successors, so when they die, who's going to be the next bishop. And that covers everything for this top tab in basics. Across from that, you have your messages. And these are messages that, you know, are important and you probably want to deal with now. So you can see right now we have two titles that can be created. And to create them, it's going to cost me gold, but I'm going to get prestige back. And, you know, you can't make someone a duke if the title of duke doesn't exist. So that's also very important. Like, you know, if you play this early on as a pagan person, the Swedish kingdom hasn't been created, and you have to, you know, gather some of the de jure areas and then create the Kingdom of Sweden. So that's what that is. Unmarried heir, you can see right there our heir is unmarried, we can marry with someone. Unlanded sons, which means they don't have a piece of land to themselves, which can make them angry with you, and also they won't, you know, be as good at being a king if they're your heir. Ambitions are things you pick for your character to do. You also get rewarded when they're complete, and you'll have opportunities for that to happen. And de jure claims, which I talked about earlier, is areas that you will have a right to attack. So you can see right now we have a right to attack there because it's part of de jure Sweden, and so is there, which is why we can attack them. And that covers everything on this top part. Next we have these 6 little things here. This is your amount of wealth. Your prestige, in this game prestige goes into the thousands, so 40 isn't anything. Piety, which is, you know, how religious you are, you can spend that on a lot of things, you need it to create titles sometimes. I can't pronounce this, Demisne. This is your, basically, how many holdings you have. And every area in the game has holdings. So if we go to here, Södermanland, then you can see it has a county capital. And this dictates, this little thing here means that this is my holding, I own this castle, right? There are also, this is a city, and because it doesn't have my flag there, someone else owns it. So if I click this, you can see that this is the person, a mayor, who owns it. So this is the amount of buildings you can own. So if I built another castle here, and I kept it for myself, this would go up to 4 out of 5. And this is dictated by how large your stewardship scores, which we'll get into in a later date. But that is your dominion size. Realm size is the total number of buildings in your kingdom. And score, your score from all of this is added up when you die and added to the score. Next we have messages. We got high priority and low priority. High priority are things that are quite important to the game, as you'd imagine, and you would probably want to look at. So you can see Prince Eric now favours himself as the heir to the Kingdom of Sweden. And Duke Sven favours Prince Inge as heir to the Kingdom of Sweden. So if I go to laws here, you can see these are where the 2 nominations come from. Next we have the sort of tax. If I lock this, it'll stay in place. But this is the how much money each one of your areas makes per, I want to say, month. This is the level of the fort that they have and the amount of people they have in them to rise up against war. You can see right here, if I go to here, there's 956 levy, which relates to here, just about. And that will be what that does. And now we've gone over the basic UI of everything but, provinces. And what I'm going to do now is give you a quick overview of the province area. So we'll start with one that we own. You can see here that this is what it belongs to. So it's a county of Södermanland. This is the capital of our kingdom. This is what it's called. We can also rename it if we wanted to. It's part of the Kingdom of Courland. And this is the main holding, right? So if you have a count, the count will own this one. So this is the main holding. And right now it's a castle. And if we click on it, we can build things to, upgrade it. And down here we also have a levy, which if I click raise garrison, is how many people will come out, is the levy. There's a few extra there for other reasons. Lower that. But there's the levy, that will be, your standing army when you want to fight with people. And your garrison, which is how many people will always stay in the castle if it gets attacked. So, if it's being sieged by 300 people and you've got 600, they're not going to be able to siege you very well. Next down here is the area it's in. So it's saying there's a river over here that flows over to Östergötland, which is down here. What else we got here? It's part of Courland. It's the Jure, the Jarldom of Uppland. It's Swedish, Catholic, 32-point K supply, which is how many troops can be here at once without them running out of food. Revolt risk is 0. Military advances, economy advances, and culture advances. Basically, technology is not countrywide. It depends on the province. You can see it's much lower here. And these are our other 2 buildings. You can see they also have garrisons and levies. And they also have a person that owns them, which is my vassal, which, remember, you can go to from here. And that is basically everything you need to know about this sort of view. You can also build a new holding, but it costs a lot of money. And if you're in Merchant Republic, which Götland is, but we are not, then you can build a trade post. If I go to Götland, actually, then you can see there is a trade post here that makes quite a lot of money. But that is everything to do with province view. And I think that concludes the very, very, very basic main overview of the UI of the game. So from this episode, you've learned, basically not what everything does, but what everything is at least. What everything is, why it's there, why you should worry about it, what everything means in basic terms. And I hope this has been helpful. Episode 2 will probably be about character view and everything about that. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.